Okay, so as I was saying, we've done assimilation. So now we are going to move on to harmony, the next phonological process. Now, harmony is also called long distance assimilation. We will see why it's called long distance assimilation. In harmony, vowels harmonize with other vowels. And one thing to remember always is harmony only happens between vowels, never with consonants. If you see a vowel and a consonant changing each other or assimilating in any manner, then that is not harmony. That is then assimilation. Um, type harmony only happens between vowels. Okay, so this is something to always remember. If you're looking at a process and you're trying to understand what it is, if it is happening between two vowels, maybe one vowel in one word and another vowel in another word, it can be, and the reason why it is called long distance assimilation is it can be harmonizing from, they don't have to sit right next to each other. In assimilation, it's very important that the two sounds are exactly right next to each other. They're neighboring sounds. But in harmony, it doesn't matter. It can be the middle sound in one word and it can be the middle sound in another word, and they can be harmonizing with each other. So harmony, if you also think about the word harmony, we usually use harmony for singing as well. And singing, when you harmonize with someone, is done at the vowel level. If you think about it, it's like ah. You harmonize in that way with the voicing sound. It's not you're harmonizing by saying ba 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 ba. That's not how you harmonize. So it's always in the vowel level. So always remember that harmony happens only with vowels, never with consonants. So we're going to look at harmony, an example of harmony. So in Turkish, you have two plural morphemes, and they are lar and ler. Two morphemes. Now let's look at lar and ler. If you look at them, the first one, lar and ler. Can you call lar and ler a minimal pair? Can they be called a
Yes,
minimal
ma'am.
pair? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Why can they be called a minimal pair?
Only one sound is different.
Okay, great, thank you. So there is only one sound that is different between them. So they both have la and they both have ra, but they have different vowels. One is a and the other is a. Okay, so let's look at the vowels then. We need to look at the characteristics of the vowels to understand the process here. Ah, what are the characteristics of ah? What kind of a vowel is it? High, low, front, back. You know, whenever you talk about vowels, these are the characters you can look at. High, low, front, back, spread lips, rounded lips, all of that. These are the three main characteristics. So, any idea? সবগুলো বসে আছি আমরা। Ah,
It's open.
open. Okay. Is it a high vowel or a low vowel?
Low vowel.
Low vowel. Okay. Is it a front vowel or a back vowel?
Front.
I is a front vowel. I is a back
No,
vowel.
ma'am, it's likely the back vowel.
Yes. In the vowel chart, if I, let me then stop the screen share and show you something in order to explain vowels. When we do vowels, okay, you have, say, this. You draw this diagram, right? When you place a vowel. Why this diagram? Can anyone tell me? Why is this diagram so lopsided? Why is it like that? Why isn't it like a straight box? Does anyone know why?
And it's a representation of our tongue.
No, it's not a representation of our tongue. It is a representation of something, but not our tongue. Okay. is actually the representation of our mouth, the inside of our mouth. This is the inside of our mouth. Okay. This is the most frontest part that can be there. And the low part is always a little back in our mouth. And the frontest part, right, if you think about the teeth, this is where it is. And that's at the velum, the back part. And this is at the root of the tongue, kind of, back of the tongue. That is the how this diagram is made. Okay, so which is why when we say it is a high vowel, how do we? We're talking about the distance that is created between the upper surface. Who has unmuted themselves? Please mute yourself. The upper surface and the lower surface. So that would be a high vowel, and this is a low vowel. And when you say a front vowel, that means it is further in the front of the mouth. And if you say a back vowel, it's further back. One way of understanding it is very simple. If you say, just say E.
Hello, ma'am.
Hello.
I'm Saidus and I have just joined right now.
Okay, Said, what's your serial number?
20.
Okay. All right. So as I was
Hello,
saying,
Assalamualaikum, ma'am.
Walaikum Assalam. All right, anybody who has joined late, please just write it in the chat. Okay? All right, so as I was saying, so if you say E and then say oo, what happens to your tongue? Just think about it. Don't think about it, do it. Say E and then say oo. E oo, E oo, E oo. What happens?
In case of E, our lips get
No,
paired,
not lips.
and
I am
in
not
case of
looking at
O,
lips. Not lips, only tongue. E oo, E oo. Does anything happen to the tongue?
Moves upwards.
Moves upwards or does it go backwards? E oo,
Also beat
E oo.
backwards.
It
Also
goes
backwards.
backwards. Right.
While
So it goes,
pronouncing O, it goes backward and it's a little rounded or curled.
okay. We're not looking at the roundingness. We're just looking at what our tongue does. So from E to oo, it just suddenly goes back, right? That's why oo is a back vowel because the tongue goes back, and E is a front vowel because the tongue stays in the front. That's how you say it is a front vowel or a back vowel. If you say E and if you say ah, the distance between the tongue and the upper surface, does that distance change? E, ah.
Yes, ma'am, it increases.
Exactly. So the least amount of distance is when you say E, because your tongue is almost stuck to the upper surface of your mouth. So when you say ah, it is absolutely low down. So that is a low vowel. And E is a high vowel. When you say oo, again, even though the tongue is at the back, it is almost touching the top of your soft velum. Ooh, it's not down there. So that's why it is a high vowel. So this is how the tongue height or frontness or backness is measured in terms of a vowel. All right. So now let's go back to my screen share and explain, because this is important for vowel harmony to understand how the vowel works. All right. So you have lar, which is a back vowel, low back vowel, and you have a lair, a. A is a,
middle,
it's a mid vowel, right? Front or back?
front.
Front vowel. So what's the difference between them? The main difference, it seems, between them is in backness and frontness. So lar means it is going to be a back vowel and lair is a front vowel. So that's the main difference between them. So what happens is they have these two morphemes, and when they come across words such as, say, bash, which means head, or dost, which means friend, utu, sack, der, lesson, jil, see, dish, choose. So if they want to pluralize these, we pluralize them, and which plural morpheme will they take? So which plural morpheme do you think Bash will take if it wants to harmonize? What does harmonize mean? Assimilate. Assimilation means trying to become like the other or being, there's something similar between them. So Bash, Lar or Lair?
Probably lar.
Right. It has a back vowel and lar is another back vowel. So it will be bash lar. Dost, O. O is a front vowel or a back vowel. Dost, O.
Back.
Back vowel. So which one will it take? Lar or lair? Hmm? Which one?
Lar.
Right. It will take lar. Kutu, U. U is a back vowel or a front vowel?
Back.
Back
Back.
vowel.
So it will take lar. So if you look at the whole series, then this is what you get: Bashlar, Dostlar, Kutular, Derfler, Giller, Dishler. All the back vowels, because the words have back vowels in them, so they take the plural form that has the back vowel because they're harmonizing. And the vowels that are front vowels, especially for the word C, Gil. Gil is like an O but with a spread lip. This, when you study secondary cardinal vowels, that's when you find this vowel. It is a front vowel. And O is a back vowel, but I is a front vowel. So here, since it is a front vowel, it takes lair, which has A, which is a front vowel. Dish, E, E is a high front vowel. It takes another front vowel. So A, lair, so dish lair. So this is harmonizing. And if you can see, in case of the vowels are not right next to each other. Bash has the vowel A and Lar has the vowel A. And both are in the middle of the word. And they have two consonants in between them. If you look at Dostalar, there are three consonants between them, but they're still harmonizing with each other. So that's why it's also called long distance assimilation. They are choosing something similar to them. They are trying to look like the same or sound the same way, but they are not right next to each other, these sounds. They are far apart. So did we understand harmonizing? Yes, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so this brings me to the quiz that I made you do. It's more like a survey, not so much of a quiz, on the Bangla plurals, right? Gula, guli, gulo. You had all of that and you had to pick and choose. And a lot of you said that, some of you said that, I use all of them. It's not like I use depending with, boi guli je boli ta to na, boi gulao boli, boi gulo boli, sabi boli, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So
Yes,
it was
ma'am.
very hard to choose one and say, না আমি এটার ক্ষেত্রে শুধু বইগুলি বলবো. But I would like to show you the right. If you look at the responses here, it's very interesting. Despite the fact that we do not harmonize, which we don't, Bangla, we don't really harmonize. For us, it is more about the formality, the level of formality. But there is a little bit of harmonizing happening. Like hit is a front vowel, and you have over here most people saying taking a back vowel, kula. And then you have Pakhi, but again, in terms of Pakhi, is a Pakhi Guli. So it seems like there is some kind of harmonizing happening here. Just 1 second, okay? So I'm going to stop my screen share 1 second. So let's go back. All right. So it seems like in Bangla, when we look at all the like Dorja, Gula, again, seems like there is harmony. So maybe sometimes without thinking we do harmonize, but maybe we don't harmonize. So if like I did this to show you in case like a lot of people as an example of Bangla harmonizing, they give this gula, guli or gulo, juto gulo boli, juta gula boli, kind of an example. But no, that's not what is happening in Bangla. Maybe there's a little bit of harmonizing working here, but I don't think there is a lot. Okay. So let's go back to our processes. Okay, any questions? No question. Okay, so we understood harmony. Harmony is like assimilation. It's called long distance assimilation, but it only happens between vowels, never with consonants. Consonants have no bearing here whatsoever. And that it can happen between vowels in two separate words who are far apart from each other. There might be 5 consonants in between them and they can still harmonize. So this is harmony. Okay. All right. So next we're going to move on to deletion or elision. Now, elision is the process where a sound segment is deleted. Very easy. Just a sound will get deleted. There are reasons why sounds get deleted. We're going to look at how sounds get deleted. This can happen with both consonants and vowels. Okay. So in American English, you have a word like plumber, right? We all know who a plumber is. But when they say plumber. They delete the b sound. Again, pumpkin. I had done it in the last class. The p in pumpkin, and the middle p is deleted and it becomes pumpkin. Instead of saying pumpkin, they say pumpkin. And not just that, there's also something else happens sometimes. Pumpkin becomes pumpkin, where the m sound, which is a bilabial, because of the velar sound coming after it, becomes a velar itself. Similarly. Anyways, so elision or deletion is the process where either a consonant or a vowel will get deleted. Now there are different 3 types of deletion happening. One is called syncope, and the second one is called apheresis, and the third one is called apocope. Okay, so let's look at syncope. Syncope, when a vowel is deleted, it is called syncope. That vowel can be deleted from any position in the word, as long as it is a vowel that is deleted. So if a vowel is deleted, it is called syncope. So in American English, police, or we say police, police can be, is pronounced as please. Police is here. The police will be coming soon. Call the police. So the po is deleted. There are other examples of syncope, of course. Remember, we had done syllabic sounds, right? We had syllabic L, syllabic M, syllabic N, syllabic R, and they all become syllabic because they need to become the syllable nucleus. Why? They need to become syllable nucleus because in that syllable, the vowel gets deleted. That is syncope. So in a word like bottle, you have 2 syllables, bo and tul. In the first syllable, bo, you have a vowel, o, which is taking up the syllable nucleus. And without a syllable nucleus, you cannot have a syllable. And you have b at the onset position. And in tul, you have the schwa. But schwa is an unstressed sound. And so in connected speech, when we are speaking fast, a lot of the times it gets deleted. So when there is no vowel, how can you have a syllable? That syllable will just fall apart. At that point, the l sound, which is highly sonorous, because, oh, I will become the syllable nucleus, and he becomes the syllable nucleus. And in the same way, we get button, bottom, bother, all of these sounds. In all these cases, the process that leads to the syllabification of these consonants is syncope. The fact that the schwa, the unstressed vowel sound, gets deleted. So this is another example of syncope. There are many examples of syncope. You will constantly find syncope, and we will all again talk about syncope later on when we talk about some Bangla examples. Okay, so the second one was
Ma'am, we can see the slides. Your screen is showing your browser.
the screen is showing my what?
Your screen is showing your browser, not the slides.
Okay. Can you see the slides now? Can you see
No,
the slides?
ma'am.
No.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay, wait. Then let me stop the share and start again. Okay, can you see it now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
আমাকে এতক্ষণ বললে না কেন এতক্ষণ পরে? So harmony we done. All right. So again. So like I said, illusion is the process where a sound segment is deleted, and this can happen with both consonants and vowels. All right. So in American English, you have the word plumber, and the B gets deleted, and you get plumber instead. And pumpkin, the P gets deleted, the middle P, and becomes pumpkin. Then you have three types of deletion. Like I said, you have syncope, you have apheresis, and you have apostrophe. In syncope, a vowel is deleted, and it can be deleted from any position in the word. So one example is the American word police becomes police. I do know that African Americans say police. They don't say police is coming. You will find that they make this distinction. All right. Okay. So another good example of syncope is where you have the bottle becoming, the schwa getting deleted when it is in an unstressed syllable, and the highly sonorous sounds like la, na, ma, or ra becoming the syllable nucleus and taking on the vowel position. So this is how you get syllabic consonants because of syncope, the schwa getting deleted. So do you understand me so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So moving on to apheresis, which is another kind of deletion. Now in apheresis, it is the initial component that is deleted. It can be either a consonant or a vowel, it does not matter, as long as it is in the initial position of the word, okay? So if it is in the initial position and it gets deleted, it is then called apheresis. So in English, you have about time. In fact, sometimes it becomes like, about time you're here. Instead of saying about time, you say about time you're here. Why did it take you so long? About time you're here. So the again, if you see, it's always the unstressed vowel that usually gets deleted. Now in Bangla, in our dialectal Bangla, Rangpur, people from Rangpur say we are from Ongpur, right? The ra gets deleted. So that is again an example of apheresis. So here a consonant is getting deleted, and in the English example, a vowel is getting deleted. The third type of deletion is apocope. Now in apocope, it's the final element that is deleted. Okay, it can be a consonant or a vowel as long as it is the final sound of the word. So in British English, in American English, a word C-A-R will be pronounced as car. They will pronounce the R sound. But in British English, instead of saying car, they will say ka or car. Ka is actually how Boston English. The British English is car. So anytime, any sound that is at the end of a word, it can be a consonant or a vowel. If it gets deleted, then that is apostrophe. So if you look at the three types of deletion, it's very easy to remember. Syncope is only a vowel that is deleted from anywhere in the word. That is syncope. Apheresis is it can be either consonant or a vowel, but it must be deleted from the initial position of the word. And apocope is again, it can be a consonant or a vowel, but it must be deleted from the final position of the word. So very easy to remember what these three different types of deletion are. Now, just I am going to talk about one thing that is going to be important again in the next process when we talk about appendices. It is accents which have R in the final position and before a consonant are called rhotic accents. So say in American English, you have, R, car, and you pronounce the R, car. The car is running very quickly or very fast. The car is beautiful. The car is. Now, when you are saying car is, you have a vowel in between them. And also, if you say the car has been repainted. So after the r sound, you have another consonant. So you are pronouncing that r sound. That is called a rhotic accent. When you pronounce the r that is in the word at the end of the word, and you're supposed to pronounce it, and you do actually pronounce. But then you have this other type of accent where the r only occurs before vowels, and you don't pronounce them at the end of words, which are called non-rhotic accents. So say British English. The car has broken down. The car has broken down. They will not say the car has broken down, but but they will say something like the car is very nice. The car is. Then they will pronounce the r because there is a vowel coming after the r sound. So this is known as non-rhotic accent. So American English, Bangladeshi English, Indian English, Arabic English, these are all rhotic accents. And the British English, Australian English, South African English, then you have the Boston dialect, these are all non-rhotic accents where they don't pronounce the R that is there in the spelling, but they don't pronounce. Okay, so this is very important for our next process. All right. So in deletion as well, the example that we saw of apocryphy is of what happens in a non-rhotic accent, as in British English, as how car becomes car. Okay, so the next process is appendices. Appendices is the exact opposite of deletion. You insert an extra sound which was not originally there.
Ma'am, the slides are gone again.
Okay. Why is it 1 second? All right, you know what? I'm going to do something. Right. Let's see. Why does it keep going there? Okay, back. Can you see the slides now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for letting me know. All right, so again, appendices. Appendices is when an extra sound, which was not there originally, is inserted, then it is called appendices. So in American English, in a word like strength, they insert a K right before the S sound. Between the engma and the fricative S, they insert this K sound. Also, for a word like hamster, they will insert something like a P sound between ma and S. So hempster. This was not there in the original spelling or original pronunciation. And there are more easier to understand examples of appendices. So the plural morpheme in English is the, right? And we saw that in assimilation, what happens is if it occurs with a voiceless sound like t, as in the word cat, it becomes s. It assimilates, right? It becomes cat. And here we have progressive or regressive assimilation happening.
Progressive.
Progressive, partial or total?
Partial.
Partial.
Yes, it's partial because it hasn't become another t sound, right? The z sound didn't become another t sound. It just became voiceless, the s. So it's a partial assimilation. So you can see it happens. And if it occurs, the z sound occurs with another voice sound, then there is no change. Dog, dogs. The z remains itself. But if it occurs with sibilants, such as sa or sha or za, any of these three sounds, then it inserts an E sound. Bus doesn't become buzz, it becomes buses, houses. So our houses, it will always insert an E sound. So this here is an example of in Bangla, Bangla does not originally have S, K, S, P, S, C consonant clusters in the beginning of words. These are usually found in words that we have borrowed from other languages, mostly English. So a word like school becomes, for a Bengali speaker, instead of saying school, they say e-school. They insert an E before the sk. So that is, again, a synthesis. Lipstick becomes lipstick, that E. So this is also an example of a synthesis. In Spanish, you have the same thing. España becomes España, and hence when they even say the word Spanish, they say Spanish instead of saying Spanish. They insert an E before the word Spanish. So this is a penthesis. A penthesis is basically inserting a sound that was not there in the original spelling, in the original pronunciation, and you insert it. It can be in between, it can be in the initial position, it can be at the final position. Any position does not matter, as long as you insert a sound that was not originally there. Okay, that is a penthesis. It is the exact opposite of deletion, where deletion, you have a sound, you get rid of it. Over here, you have all the sounds that you require for the word, but you insert something extra in order for you to help you to pronounce some words. This is a penthesis. Now, this brings us to a very interesting phenomena that happens in English. I'm going to just say a little bit on it, but I'm going to play a video for you. I think that it will be easier for you to understand it when you see that video. Now, in order to understand this, we first need to understand one phenomena called linking R. The appendicizing part will be about intrusive R, but we first need to know about linking R. I hope you can all see my slide. Can you see my slide?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so linking R. In many non-rhotic accents. So which ones are the non-rhotic accents again?
When we don't pronounce the R at
Right.
the end of the word.
So say in British accents, right? So in the non-rhotic accents, words historically ending in R, as evidenced by an R in the spelling, may be pronounced with R when they are closely followed by another morpheme beginning with a vowel sound. So as long as you have, say, a word that ends in the R sound, and after that, the next word that begins must start with a vowel. In that case, they will pronounce the R sound. So, tuner amp may be pronounced tuner amp. Now, this is the case even though if you ask them to pronounce the word just on its own separately, they will not pronounce the R sound. They will say tuna. They will not say tuner. They will say tuna. So, but if you have a word like amp which starts with a vowel after it, they will say tuner amp. So this is the case even though tuner would not otherwise be pronounced with an R. This phenomenon is known as linking R. So car will be pronounced as car, but car end will be pronounced as car end. Okay, so you have the R, which is already there in the spelling. They usually don't pronounce it, but because there's a vowel starting after that sound with the next word, they will pronounce the R sound. This is known as a linking R. And this you only find in non-rhotic accents. This does not apply to American accent or Canadian accent. Okay. Now comes a penthesis, the intrusive R. So we have to understand the linking R. In the linking R, the R is already there in the spelling. They just don't pronounce it. They only pronounce it if they find another vowel coming after it. Now, in the phenomena of intrusive R, it is an overgeneralizing reinterpretation of linking R into an R insertion rule that affects any word that ends in a non-high vowel, such as a, ia, a, or o. When such a word is closely followed by another word beginning in a vowel, an R is inserted between them, even when no final R was historically present. Now, what does that mean? So, for example, in a phrase like tuna, you can see that there is no R, not in the spelling. So obviously they shouldn't be pronouncing an R sound here, right? And then you have the word oil. Now, even though you have the word tuna, which does not have an R, but it ends with this vowel A. It's a low vowel, non-high vowel. And after that, it starts with another vowel, oil, okay? They will end up pronouncing it as tuna oil. They will insert an R that was originally not there. It's not there in the spelling, so it shouldn't be there in the pronunciation, but they insert an R, extra R sound, because they think that they are doing that linking R that they do usually when you have car end. So, you know, so you wouldn't pronounce the R, but since it's starting with a vowel, so and it's ending with a low vowel, car, you say car end. They overgeneralize that rule of linking R and they insert an R here. So tuna oil, pizza and pie, instead of saying pizza and pie, they will say pizza and pie. So if you ask them to say the word separately, they will say tuna and oil, they will say pizza and pie. But if you, in connected speech, when they're speaking in fast speech, they will say tuna oil or pizza and pie. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this video for you. Listen to this video, okay? Okay, can you hear it?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am, we can't hear it.
All right, you know what? I'm not going to try and fiddle with it and try and see why this is not playing. What I will upload this video. You can just watch this video. In this video, this boy or man, he has a British accent and he explains how they use linking R and intrusive R. Okay, so you can see the video and it will explain to you better. So for now, I'm not going to try and waste time on trying to figure out why it's working in the morning. Okay, anyways. So if you did you understand the difference between linking R and intrusive R?
Yes, ma'am.
So which one is epenthesis here, linking R or intrusive R?
Intrusive R.
Yes, thank you. Intrusive R is epenthesis. Linking R is basically the R that is already there in the spelling. They didn't pronounce before, but now they are pronouncing it just because there is another word starting with a vowel. Intrusive R is that there is no R sound in the spelling. They will never use an R with that word otherwise, just because that word ends in a low vowel, and the next word has a vowel in the beginning of it, and so they think they need to have a linking R, but so they insert an R there, which was not there in the spelling. So words like Diana and I would become Diana and I. So any word that ends with a low back vowel, or a low vowel, they will insert that R sound. Okay, so that is an intrusive R. All right, we're coming to the last of the main phonological processes. It's called palatalization. Now, when a sound that is not palatal occurs before a high front vowel. So the high front vowels can either be E or A. and it becomes palatal. The process is then called palatalization. So in the Greek word, kino, just because the k sound, which is a velar stop, it occurs before the e sound, it becomes chino, which is a palatal stop. Again, scary, because it's a velar stop that occurs before the a sound, it becomes cherry, which is again a palatal stop. So you have the rule. Remember the phonological, how we write phonological rules. So a velar stop becomes a palatal stop slash in the environment of when it occurs before a high front vowel. That is what palatalization is. And guess what? We do palatalization in Bangla too. Can anyone give me an example of, let's look at the Japanese and then maybe you'll be able to give me a example of palatalization in Bangla. In Japanese, you have sha, the sa sound. If it occurs before an a sound, it remains sa. It is pronounced as sa. But if it occurs before a high front vowel, it becomes sh. So an alveolar sound like sa becomes a palatal sound, sh, when it occurs in front of a high front vowel. Okay? So that is palatalization. No. The example I had for Bangla is actually not going to be appropriate here. Maybe later on. Maybe later on I can explain that. Anyway, so palatalization is again very simple. As long as it can be any sound, it's not a palatal sound, which is any sound that is not a palatal sound. If it occurs before palatal sound, if it occurs before a high front vowel and it changes its place of articulation and becomes a palatal sound, like in this case, if you look at the Greek example, it still remains a stop. It does not change its manner. It does not change its state of voice. It only changes its place, place of articulation. It only changes its place of articulation. So you can see a velar sound becomes a palatal sound because it occurred in front of a high front vowel. And even in Japanese, if you look at it, it still remains a fricative. It does not change its manner of articulation. It has also not changed its state of voice. It has not become voiced or voiceless, anything. Nothing has changed in terms of its state of glottis. The only thing that has changed is its place of articulation. An alveolar sound became a palatal sound. So palatalization is any type of sound becoming a palatal sound just because it occurs in front of a high front vowel. Okay, that is palatalization. So these are the main processes. We've looked at assimilation. We've looked at harmony. Assimilation happens between consonants and vowels or consonants and consonants, but they must be right next to each other. They must be neighboring sounds. We saw harmony. Harmony only happens with vowels, and they can be far apart from each other. They don't have to sit right next to each other in order to harmonize. And then we looked at deletion, where sounds can be deleted, both consonants and vowels, and depending even on their place of where they are getting deleted or what is getting deleted, you have 3 types of deletion. And then we saw epenthesis. Epenthesis is when a sound is inserted, which was not there in the spelling from the beginning or in the pronunciation. Any sound that is inserted, that is called epenthesis, exact opposite of deletion. And the last one we looked at is palatalization, where a sound will change its place of articulation and become a palatal sound. It can be a fricative, it can be or stop, any sound, as long as it becomes a palatal sound because it occurs in front of a high front vowel E or A, that is palatalization. Okay. So I'm just going to go briefly over the secondary kinds of, and these are the very easy ones, the secondary phonological processes that we have. One is called metathesis. So metathesis is the transposition of two phonemes in a word. Transposition মানে অদল বদল, ওটা just জায়গায় বদলাবে, right? So AB becomes BA. In Bangla, we have a word like ricksha, and a lot of people say rishka, right? কিছু হয়নি এখানে, অন্য কোনো কিছু হয়নি, just sha and ka, they changed places. So ricksha, rishka. Desk becomes dex. Flux becomes flux. My son is great at metathesis. All his words are metathesis into other words. আমি নিজেই ভুল বলছি এখন, খেলনা becomes খেনলা, দরজা becomes জর্দা, and he's almost 6, but he speaks this way. He uses metathesis all the time. The metathesis is a process that happens. A lot of people call it as an error of speech, but it is a process that occurs. But it is not a main process. It is not something that changes, what would I say? It's not something that is really a big part of connected speech, not because it is of connected speech that it happens. There are many other reasons why it happens. So this is why it is known as one of the secondary phonological processes. So did we understand metathesis? Isn't it easy to understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
This one is very easy to understand. All right, then we can find lots of examples of metathesis, I'm sure. The second one is a fortition. Fortition, remember fortis and lenis sounds. Fortis meaning strong sounds, lenis means weak sounds, same thing. Fortition is a strengthening rule. Anytime with any of these, it can be in assimilation, mostly in assimilation. It can be an assimilation where a fricative becomes a stop, then that is a strengthening rule. If a voice sound becomes a voiceless sound, it happens in assimilation, then that is a fortition rule. If a plain stop becomes an aspirated stop, it is a fortition rule. If a long consonant, like abba, becomes abba, a short consonant becomes a long consonant. So like in a word like abba, it becomes abba, then that is a fortition rule, okay? And the exact opposite of it is lenition rule, the weakening rule. If a stop becomes a fricative, that is a lenition rule. If a voiceless sound becomes a voiced sound, that is a lenition rule. If an aspirated stop becomes a plain stop, then that is a lenition rule. And if a long consonant becomes a short consonant, so abba becomes abba, then that is a lenition rule, okay? So if you know all the fortition rules, you know that you just have to write the exact opposite for the lenition rule.
Ma'am, slides are gone again.
Oh, why does this keep happening? Let's go. Okay,
Ma'am, I can see the slides still.
you can. I'm still going to share it again. Can you see it now?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so you have, like I said, fortition rule. If you know the fortition rules, if a fricative becoming a stop, voice becoming voiceless, plain stop becoming aspirated stop, and a short consonant becoming a long consonant, then you know the lenition rules. You have to write the exact opposite for the lenition rule. So just to give you an example of lenition, how it happens in the Finnish language, you have matto, which has long consonants, right? Ta, long consonants, matto. The matto rug becomes matolla. So the ta loses one of the ta and it becomes a single consonant. Matolla. Ulla is the has. Okay. So matolla. Here, this is a lenition because a long consonant becoming a short consonant. So weakening rule. Again, for the word mato, which is worm, and the worm has becomes madolla. So madolla from mato is again the voiceless sound is becoming a voiced sound. This is a lenition rule. In your assimilation, when you see saying cat, the sound, the voice sound becoming voiceless sound, what is that? Is that lenition or fortition?
Lenition.
No. If a voiceless sound becomes a voice sound, that is lenition. But if a voice sound becomes a voiceless sound, that is fortition. So in cats, the type of assimilation that is happening is fortition rule, it's a strengthening rule. Okay? So look at all the different kinds of rules that you have seen and all the processes and try to see which one is a fortition rule and which one is a lenition rule. All right, so I'm just going to look at one more. And here, they remain stopped. So not one. Okay, none of these have it. You can see it in assimilation. Anyways, so that's it in terms of all the phonological processes. We're done with it. So we saw all the main phonological processes. The main phonological processes were assimilation, harmony, deletion or elision, synthesis, and palatalization. These were the five main phonological processes. And we also saw some not so main secondary kind of phonological processes, and that is metathesis, fortition, and lenition. It's these three. Okay, so that is the end of phonological processes. Any questions? No questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm going to stop recording here.